Welcome back to Mind Your Biz. In this issue of our Creator Highlights series, I'm joined by somebody who, if you've been paying attention, been done some joint venture and some joint projects with this individual. We've shared stages, not internationally yet, but we're getting there. But all across the United States, from coast to coast, north to south. You can find us in Las Vegas together, or Miami, LA, and other places as well. It's my great pleasure to bring onto our show RC, or Rameel Connor, aka the MoonDaddy. RC, welcome to Mind Your Biz.
My brother Seth, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing.
Pleasure to be on, man.
And I'm glad we finally made this happen. Right, here's the thing: we've been kind of in hustle mode and under the radar for a while with a few things. One or two things that was not so much under the radar. But for any member of my audience that's not really familiar with you, if it's okay, I'm gonna do a quick Rameel Connor in 30 seconds as I know it, and then you fill in the gaps here, right? So formerly played for the Dolphins and the Steelers in the NFL. Also did some football internationally as well. So had an opportunity to travel and bring passion for the sport to Europe, I think. And from there went into insurance, had your own brokerage, did the better part of a decade, just killing it. I mean, first off, as you know, very few businesses last their first 5 years. So clearly you were doing that right. Exited from that, went into pharma, then went into tech. And then tech, of course, led you, like it does to so many others, to crypto, where you're now in crypto full-time as a full-time investor, trader, and builder. Is that about right?
That's about right. Really good assessment there, brother Seth. Yeah, and I was fortunate enough when I was with the Dolphins, they allocated me to NFL Europe. I was based in Barcelona, Spain, back in 2001. So that's how I got the international kind of exposure, and that's where I was able to actually play. Right, so that was the first time when the Dolphins allocated me to NFL Europe to Barcelona, where I started for a full season. We went to the World kind of Super Bowl of the NFL Europe. And really great experience, really changed my view and lens of the world, right? It gave me a worldly view as opposed to, the United States, right? It's a bit of a small world view when you haven't left the country. So it was a really great experience.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think in some of our conversations, we've had plenty of heart-to-hearts, right? Late nights, just out in the middle of nowhere, right? A lot of time on the books that's frankly is a blur, but in good company. I think one of the things that kind of stands out in my mind is that you've had that ability to go and see places, meet people, and really take in culture. Like, right, culture is more than just a meal, right? Prepared a certain way. It is actually going and mingling and meeting people and understanding how a way of life could be different if you're raised a different way in a different land. So it's always really shown through in my interactions with you is that you have that ability to read culture, and frankly, you have another ability. I'll say this. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. You have another ability. And, I've bragged on it too, because I'm still in awe. I'm like, I've never met anybody who quite has the same gift. But Mind Your Biz audience, if you want to guess what that is, go ahead and make a comment right now. Like, what is RC's hidden talent? Because like I like finding gems, right? People, gems of people. RC he's got an ace up his sleeve as far as a hidden talent and ability. But yeah, no, that travel really comes through, and you seem to really understand cultures. I think the last tech gig that you did that I was aware of, I mean, you were spending significant amounts of time in Egypt and in Israel as well, both, I think.
Yeah, so a little time in Tel Aviv. The last two tech companies I worked for, they were based in Israel. So yeah, spent a decent amount of time there. It seems to be a hotbed for the IDV space, identity verification space, KYC, KYB. It seems like that's the hotbed for tech in that sector. So yeah, spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, well, that and information security. I know there's a lot of information security outfits and not so much privacy advocacy out in Israel.
It's funny. Also, Waze is based there. It's a super hot GPS, direction type of app that's more social, and it's based there. I was able to visit their main headquarters in Tel Aviv as well. So yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. So I was aware of Waze being acquired by Google. Geez, it's been 8 years now. Oh, not quite 5 years, maybe.
About 5.
maybe
Yeah.
a little longer. Yeah. So I was aware of them being acquired, and so I know that there's a bit of information sharing, data sharing between applications. Waze was so much better at like you said,
Right.
allowing for social aggregation of like, there's a speed trap here, or
you can't beat them by them, right? That's what Google does. You can't beat them by them.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's just a different game, right? It's a meta game, and it's hard to understand unless you've been around some of those circles. Again, speaking to culture and getting exposure to different games and the way they're played, different social games and different professional games. On that note, let's kind of jump back in time a little bit. The professional game, as you were playing it before you had any exposure to crypto, maybe back in the pharma days or earlier in insurance with the insurance brokerage. Who was that guy? Who was RC during that time? And what was what was your professional path looking like then before you thought crypto might enter into the picture?
Sure. So after football, it's a really, I kind of talk about in other interviews, whatever, but it's really a transitional period. You have to figure out your identity, right? So when I was done playing football, it was predicated on an injury, right? An injury that would not heal. It's something that within both knees, right? It's arthritic as well as it's called a bursa sac. So every time I had any trauma or activity, it would swell with blood, and
bursitis, chronic bursitis. Stuff's terrible.
Yeah, it's nothing you can do about it, right? So I had to leave and end my career on an injury settlement. A lot of people, I don't talk about it very often, but that's what happened, right? Injury settlement, and I was done. So I decided to go back to school. I had to finish my undergrad, actually. I still had about half a semester, knocked that out. Went and got my master's degree. I still had a great relationship with the University of Illinois. I'll always be indebted to them for taking care. They could have just been like, oh yeah, you're done here, son. But they actually helped facilitate me finishing my undergrad as well as my master's degree. And I knocked both out in a little under 2 years. So that's kind of the path that I, to rewind a little bit. After football, finished my degree, got my advanced degree, and opened an insurance agency, became an entrepreneur. So go figure, go make that make sense, right? But a little bit about that story. My current insurance agent at the time, he was a farmer's insurance agent, and I liked his lifestyle, and I just kind of started golfing with him, kind of learning a little bit more about the industry. And it's piqued my interest. And I ended up opening my agency, had it for about 9 years. I had a buddy in the industry that kept wanting to acquire my agency, because that's kind of how you grow rapidly, right? You grow by acquisition, right? In insurance, if you can. And, the numbers made sense, and I made the transition to talk about the insurance background and, post football career.
That's amazing. So you mentioned that you got a master's degree. Was that a master's in business administration, or what direction did you take that grad degree?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mix, right, with business as well as higher ed administration. I had aspirations of being an athletic director at the time. A good friend of mine, he's in the same program. His name is Josh Whitman. And in hindsight, he's now the athletic director for the University of Illinois. So
wow.
It's really cool, right? Someone did it, right? I just took a bit of a different path on the entrepreneurial side. And
sure.
He became the athletic director. So it's really cool. Josh is a great man. Shout out to Josh Whitman. Yeah.
So, I mean, I've heard this, and I've definitely seen it with different people who I've met, but you tell me how true this rings, in your experience, that the first year in your own startup, if you're profitable and if you don't fold, that it's many multiples the amount of education as an MBA. Was that your experience?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit, Seth. What was the
So I've heard some people compare their first year in business, if they make it, right? If they're profitable, their P&L is right, as if they actually have any profit at the end of the year, and they're actually in business, they're not just like doing a glorified hobby, right? That they're extending for a long period of time. But if they're actually profitable, I've heard people say that starting their own business, whether it's a brokerage or it's freelancing, sort of like being a real estate agent or something like that, once they maintain that profitability, that is as much education or more, sometimes multiples of what an MBA is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a crash course in an MBA program, right? It may not be Kellogg or Harvard, but it's a hell of an approach. and experience. You learn so much, right? You have to balance so much, especially if you come from being an employee, right? As opposed to, you know, now becoming an entrepreneur from an accounting standpoint, tax standpoint, having employees, creating your own marketing, paying for your own marketing, all the expenses that come. And then you talk about P&L, you know, that's a huge balance in that. And you learn so much in the first, I would say, even 2 years, right? You kind of get stabilized, but it's definitely trial by fire.
Got it. Yeah. See, and maybe you can set me. Selfishly, I want to ask because you know, I've got kids. They're at that age, boys that are at the age where they're starting to like loosely line up plans for their future and figure out, you know, okay, I think I want to do this. In the same way that you were saying, like, oh yeah, I thought maybe, right, maybe college administration, and then maybe going to being an athletic director there. I keep telling them that I'm happy to give them like a seed capital for starting their own business instead of going to college today. 20 years ago, I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have felt so strongly, but today. So I don't know, I know you're a father as well. So, you know, you don't have to put yourself in my shoes. But I mean, what do you think of an approach like that? Would you, if you were doing it all over again today, would you get the MBA or would you go a different route?
Yeah, it depends on the time, right? If we had a time machine and we can be Marty McFly, you know, maybe. But I think my approach still would be traditional education because, you know, it's invaluable, the people you meet, the networks you can develop. I still have, you know, I graduated in 2001, right? And I still speak and do business with, you know, people that I was in undergrad with, let alone the master's program. Still network and still have connections with those people. Those are kind of the main attributes or main, you know, value props of going into a traditional, traditional educational system. But I will say, you know, it's tough, right? It's tough current day. I don't know if it's necessary because you can get into, you know, just like our circles, our network circles, they were established online, right? As opposed to IRL, right? In real life. So it's possible, but I still think I'm a little more traditional, maybe because of the era I grew up in, enjoying, you know, the handshake, the face-to-face eye contact, all of the, you know, the kind of physical signals that can, you know, kind of tell you, give you a little bit more intel. And on top of it, you know, the network, you know, with the administration, with the professors, you know, that's invaluable. And it's difficult to do that online. So I don't know. I teeter back and forth, but also, you know, my daughter's 19. She's going into her junior year in college. My son is 25. He already graduated college. So, you know, in our household, we kind of go the traditional route, even to today. But I know your boys are very young. It would be a very tough decision. I would probably lean and it would probably change every day. But today I would probably lean towards what you're describing. Give them seed money, help them with their plan, and let them be entrepreneurs. Encourage them to be entrepreneurs. That really probably is the path current day, is promoting entrepreneurship.
Yeah. I hear it. Yeah, in my parents' home growing up, they strongly encouraged us to do the traditional route as well, to seek a degree. My father didn't have one, and so for him it was a pleasure to see us pursue getting college degrees and achieving something that in his mind was very difficult. You know, after getting into the workforce and, you know, attempting to carve out time to maybe go back, it just didn't make sense for him in a way. So he really wanted us to have that achievement as he saw it. But I don't know. I guess, you know, I made the mistake of being a little bit too focused on a liberal arts undergrad, essentially, and not focusing on doing, I think, the graduate degree. I think if I had, I would have probably gone a similar route. It would have been something like an MBA, very tactical, in and out, just be done with it. But yeah, I went a very different route there. But in the weeds here, I wanted to ask you about moving from all of that more traditional career development, and you did kind of diverge from the traditional path by opening your own brokerage relatively early.
That's what's funny about it, right?
Yeah. So you already and I mean, whatever. I mean, you saw opportunities. You used a very clear level head to go pursue opportunities that I'm sure at that time you just saw very clearly. Okay, I can go and get at that time a decent salary, maybe managing somebody else's business, or I can pursue this thing over here and within 5 years, just write my own ticket as an entrepreneur. I definitely see like why that made sense to you. And you had all the credentials too, to say like, yeah, no, I'm totally qualified to run my own business. Nobody would say I'm not. So that does make sense to me anyway. But let's fast forward a little bit, moving past pharma and then going into tech. When what was the point of no return for you when you got involved in crypto? I don't want to know how you first saw it, but when you got involved in crypto, what was the point of no return where you realized I can literally never go back? Crypto is just, it's too big. The opportunity is too big, or it's become too big a part of my life. So, okay, I'm in. Like,
sure.
No ifs, ands, buts, I'm in.
Sure. So about 12 years ago, I moved from Chicago to Austin, right? That's kind of where we exited the pharma business. And it was more favorable to sell, within the state of Texas as opposed to the state of Illinois. And, Oracle was where I cut my teeth, right? Not many know exactly what Oracle does. And at the time, I didn't know, right? I was like, yeah, I think that's a tech company. They have a red logo. That's about as far as I knew. And, they reached out and I listened, and it worked out really well. So that's how I first got indoctrinated into crypto, because at the time, it was a younger business at the time also. They mainly recruited Ivy League kids. So I was an old man at the time at Oracle, and these kids were mining Bitcoin. I'm like, what the hell is Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin? What are these guys talking about mining? I'm traditional finance guy, right? Selling, variable life insurance, right? That's my background. And these guys are talking about mining and how many miners they have and how many Bitcoins they were able to mine this week, right? I'm like, what? So that's how I first heard about crypto, right? Which was, kind of a huge advantage. And I talk about this often. I surround myself with younger people. I'm the guide, right? I like to be the guide or kind of the mentor from a traditional structure standpoint, but they bring a lot of innovation, right? So I feed off of my young guys, right, on the Moonwalker team. And, they're all like 22, 23 years old. So being around the youth is really, it keeps you youthful, right? But that's how I first found about crypto. Found out about cryptos at Oracle about 12 years ago. I guess the Silk Road days, guys were mining Bitcoin, buying pizza with it or whatever else they were buying. That's how I first was introduced to crypto.
That's amazing. And then, and I think, so I know that I first started hearing about it when I was in Austin, actually same years, but a couple of years later, I started hearing about it from some other friends of mine or family of mine outside of work. Everybody at work was a little bit dismissive. I had more deep conversations with somebody else who was getting invested into a little bit of mining infrastructure. But that's super cool. Yeah. Austin is such an incredibly tech forward town. I know at least one dude who, I don't think he was at Oracle, but at least one dude who worked in tech who built an early mining rig it must have been by 2018, without intending for it to be the case, over 75% of his investment portfolio was Bitcoin because he just had old Bitcoin lying around for mining.
Yeah. And at the time it was so, and don't get me wrong, right? I didn't get rich on it, right? I was still the old man around kids, right? I had a bad mindset and I didn't really fully buy in, right? The cost of acquisition and moving, Bitcoin tokens at the time was cost prohibitive to me, the way I analyzed it. But I didn't stock up on Bitcoin at the time. So just to be clear and transparent as usual, right? But I was introduced, right, and it sparked an idea in my head just in regards to that being the future, DeFi being extremely important, and it being a really innovative, tech forward way of thinking with finance. That's what it did show me.
Nice. That's amazing. So that was kind of the point of no return then for you, when you just knew like, okay, I've got to stay in this asset class. What was that? When you realized light bulb clicked, you got in so deep that you were like, this is it. There is no like RC in the future who's not involved in crypto. When did that realization strike you?
It's funny. I don't know if there was a pivotal moment that I can point to, but I'll say in play to earn games, right? I got to a point where I was making, kind of more than what I earned on a daily from my job, right? From literally pushing buttons on a game. It was I won't say the name of the game, but it became very profitable. I'm like, wait a minute, I need to give this more attention, right? I can passively earn income sitting at my desk. So that's what I would say that was one of the more pivotal moments. And then, as you know, kind of some of the passive income vehicles that I'm in personally, it was just over when I started doing more research in regards to passive income through crypto, right? And then the whole spirit of DeFi, of separating ourselves from traditional finance, of being in control of our own finances, as opposed to being dependent upon a traditional bank, being dependent upon a traditional broker, being dependent upon a traditional system that isn't necessarily to our advantage, right? I wanted to drive. I'm more of a driver than a passenger. So that was, those were kind of key terms or value props that really turned the light bulb on. It was a few, right? It wasn't just kind of one thing. It was a few.
Yeah. Nice. That's amazing. Yeah. I think a lot of people have a similar, like not the same experience as you, but they get to that realization that there's this bigger opportunity within cryptocurrency and the whole DeFi ecosystem, and in some cases play to earn, but mostly I think DeFi off ramping from play to earn. They just sort of realize, okay, it would maybe be foolish if I didn't try to figure out where there was more opportunity here for me, and try my hand at this. That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about Moonwalkers. I've got the site up here, and I think some people know, others don't, that this is that you're associated with this. Let's talk about your involvement with Moonwalkers.
Sure. So Moonwalkers is something that was sparked from a rug, right? So my partner Chris O and I and a few other guys on our team, we were involved in the original Moonwalkers. So our Moonwalkers version is a V2. And it's our DNA, right? So this dev that we were doing some marketing help. I do business development help. If I see a token that I really like, usually micro caps, I'll jump in. I'll message the dev on Twitter or on Telegram and say, hey, I'm a marketer. I like what you guys are doing. How can I help? Right? I just offer my help if it's a token I like and I see potential in it. And this guy was a corrupt dev, as most are. Unfortunately, I always keep it real. I'm never gonna BS, right? So he was a corrupt dev, and long story short, he ended up taking the marketing wallet and emptied the LP. We wake up one day, and it basically is us, right? The investors, and then the team that was helping, right? So we pivoted. We decided that we're gonna save the token, and we relaunched the token the same day that Russia invaded the Ukraine. So it was really an interesting pivotal moment. But we were able to have people send their existing tokens to get some LP, and we ended up launching at 35K and we got to 700K. So it was a really good pivot, and we were able to save people's money, and we established something, right, as a team, and we showed something, I think, to the crypto community that even from a bad experience you can have a good experience, and that's what bred the Moonwalker ecosystem. And it has evolved since that time into an AMA platform, an incubator system. We do a lot of consulting behind the scenes, publicly and privately. We've launched Warren Sapp's Hall of Fame NFT line, and we have some other deals we're working with Warren and other professional athletes on. Great experience with Warren, and obviously about that. You were involved in the process, but we've morphed Moonwalker's ecosystem into a true ecosystem where we generate revenue and income through a lot of different mediums, and very proud of it, man. We're still kind of under the radar. But I see that changing going into this bull market, and very excited about what can come, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned, I'm right there with you. It is really exciting. Not just, the token itself is it's a little representation of what the team is capable of doing. It shows capabilities, but all of the other ecosystem plays on Moonwalkers, like you said, at Decentral Miami, there on the main stage with Warren Sapp talking about an NFT launch, working with other networks to do limited launches with him, being able to tokenize some of the memorabilia that he has signed, which is very rare for an A-list sports celebrity to agree to do. And so those relationships, man, I think Rameel, I think it's pretty obvious that this comes from your connection graph and your ability to stay focused on BD. I mean, I don't know that I've met anybody that handles relationships quite the same way that you do. So really, a lot of this is to your credit, and the team here is just assisting. I think offering a supporting role with some of the other things that go into launching NFTs and tokens. So yeah, feather in your cap certainly for all of this stuff that's been built out of like you said, salvaging what could have been a failed token.
Yeah. So I'll always give the utmost credit to my team. Mr. Chriso, Mr. New Gems. They're pivotal parts, as well as Mike and Scuba Steve and everyone. And hopefully I'm not leaving out too many people, but the entire Moonwalkers team is extremely pivotal in what we do. And we work tirelessly behind the scenes. We're literally putting in 5 to 6 hours a day, any given day. And we're always building, right? We're building for the bull. We never give up. I think that's it's a key ingredient to success. Really is just not quitting, right? That's really more than half the battle. If you have that mindset, right? We just won't quit. We don't care what the price is. We don't care what negative news comes from Mr. Gary Gensler and the SEC. It is what it is, right? And the perseverance is what will help us, succeed in the future. And I think a lot of people are witnessing that and buying into it for sure.
Amazing. So let's talk about some of the upcoming milestones or some upcoming big dates or just upcoming big project deliverables that will be milestones. Because you mentioned there's some things coming. What can you talk about in this interview that people can look forward to? Maybe not just from the Moonwalkers token itself, but from the team and sort of the ecosystem.
We're working on something really exciting with the print token. Again, we do business development, and sometimes we can announce and speak on the project, and other times we don't. We like to be anonymous, but on this project, we're not anonymous. So it's the print token. They're developing a launch pad, which is I think is needed, and this is why. It's very secure. Moonwalkers is actually, my background is KYC, KYB, right? So it's all about security. And we know the devs, we know exclusively who the dev is on each launch, each project. And we don't have a problem exposing them if they do anything nefarious, which will be very difficult because also we're working on having multi-sig contracts where we have access to the contract, where nothing can be done unless we're signing off on it as well as the dev. So we're trying to fortify security for these launches on this launch pad. And that's why we're very bullish on it, because, most people that are still actively investing and trading in crypto in this bear market, they just need a safe project. You're talking on BSC and ETH, more than 50% of the projects are going to rug. That's just going to happen. I have a sample size of at least 1,000 projects, and the ratio is more than 50%. There were, nefarious activities. If it wasn't farming, it was very clear nefarious activity, right? By the dev, by the team. And we're just tired of it. And we're excited to work with the print team to help develop the launch pad. And the first project for the launch pad has already been identified. And it's a really interesting iteration, I'll say, of Evergrow. It's called Evergrow X, and it's a unique project that will it's hyper deflationary, right? It doesn't reflect the token because reflection tokens are very difficult because they have a huge impact on the chart. And the Evergrow token is a hyper deflationary token that has some really interesting custom code that will always keep the chart looking very healthy. And when people dump excessively, they'll pay a little bit. I'll just say that, and it'll benefit the holders. and it won't have a negative effect on the chart because their dump tokens will get burned. And that's as far as I can go on the mechanisms, but it's hyper-deflationary, and we're super excited about it. And it's really for holders, right? It's for people that want to generate more than just average like 1 or 2x. The people that want to get into a project, right? Into a project and not into a fly-by-night contract, right? I call it kind of contracts when it's like, oh yeah, I'll be in for 1x and I'm out in 1 hour, right? We want to attract people that are looking to invest and to generate hopefully life-changing income over time, right? You and I come from an era where it was traditional investments. You're talking 2 to 5 years, right? That's the expectation that you're expecting for a return. In crypto, 1 hour is more like 1 week. So we understand that, the rapid pace of crypto, but we're building, projects that people can invest in safely and consistently. So that we're super excited about the print pad. This is probably the first time we'll talk about it publicly, but it's called Print Pad, and it's by the Print team. And Moonwalkers is helping to incubate that, as well as the first project, which is Evergrow X. So that's already been identified. So more news to come on that. I'll shut the hell up on most projects. But as you can
that's
see,
amazing.
I'm pretty excited about those.
Yeah, no, and as you know, I share that excitement. I need to disclose to my audience that I am involved, right, with some of the ideation, and I am involved with some of the execution on some of this advisement for Print Pad, and it is exciting. Yeah, definitely exciting, but still kind of early days with some of the roadmap and making sure that it's shaped up. But yeah, that's awesome. So these are some things that.
And part of the mantra, right? You just reminded me of something. Part of the mantra, I'll shut up too. Don't worry. Part of the mantra is transparency is the new meta. That's what part of the identity of the print token is, right? And Print Pad is transparency is the new meta. We need it, right? It's more of a movement than just for quick gains. It's something that's needed in the space.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's true. Awesome. Well, so those are some upcoming big milestones, some upcoming big projects. We've gone a little bit over half an hour, which is about what I asked you if you had time to do. But let me ask this: where's the best place for Mind Your Biz community members to find you and interact with you? Or in other words, where do you want people to go, and what do you want them to do when they get there?
Really, the best place is I would say our AMA platform. So it's at Moonwalkers MW. That's where we hang the most, and the most alpha and information. That's our AMA platform on Twitter. And you're going to get safe, hopefully all the time, very safe projects that we vetted will come on the platform. And also you'll get informed. It's a lot of alpha that we share back and forth, as well as our listeners, our participants, the people that come to stage. The Moonwalkers AMA is really picking up a lot of steam. And it's just not me just blowing smoke up people's butts, but it really is picking up steam. And example, the XDC network, right? When we did our first AMA, that was the first participant, Trey Nelson, who's their ambassador. The price was about 2.5 cents, 3 cents. And now, it almost tripled. That's pretty good alpha, right? That's what I want to pick up on, information like that. And that's something I'll brag about, right? You get information like that. Also, we did the world's first AI, right? A model, Victoria, she's a supermodel, and she graced us with her presence and time. And we introduced the first AI technology that you can duplicate yourself and be in 2 places at one time. Thought that was really innovative and cool. So the Moonwalkers AMA platform is where we really hang. We'd love to have people join there.
Yeah, no, I can second that as well. And I mean, it's just open disclosure. So you and we co-host the Moonwalkers AMA and have had a blast. Something else that's the world's first on the Moonwalkers AMA is that we were the first to do a Twitter Spaces AMA with the developers of the Ronin Dojo Bitcoin privacy node. That's kind of rare. Being at Bitcoin Miami, I was able to talk to BTC Zelko, one of their lead developers, or the lead principal guy, right, at that business. I don't think he calls himself CEO, but he was like, oh yeah, sure, we'll do an AMA on Twitter, no problem. And that's a world's first. There was nobody else who successfully got a discussion, an AMA regarding Bitcoin privacy on Twitter to date, which sounds crazy to me because there's plenty of Bitcoin maximalists always talking about how, Bitcoin is perfect and flawless. And then you got these guys saying, no, Bitcoin is not perfect and flawless. It needs privacy and we make it. And so it was super cool to be able to talk to them as well. So yeah, a few world firsts on the Moonwalkers AMA. I'm right there with you. I'm going to take these feathers. I'm going to put them in my cap. Like,
right?
Happy.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I'm not. Me. I'm a modest guy. I like to be just like everybody else. To blend in, that's what I prefer. But I'll say the platform is very informative, right? And it's entertaining. So I advise everyone to check it out. Just check it out. The recordings are all on the Twitter page. Yeah.
And then I think also that is turning into a separate podcast that we're still deciding exactly where that's going to go, but super cool. All right. So Moonwalkers MW, you see the full link right there, and also in the description of this video. So not hard, guys. You can click a link, you can go check it out, and it costs you nothing to listen in on Twitter Spaces. It's like this media right now. It's free, and who knows, you might walk away with some secret alpha just by being in the right place at the right time. So, RC, what question didn't I ask that I should have asked?
That's a great question. It's probably, people would probably be curious, why the hell is he with all these shoes behind him? That's probably fair. That's probably a pretty good question, right? No, it's just I grew up in Chicago during the Jordan era, and I just got the shoe bug, as a child, right? I couldn't afford them as a kid, right? And it's reared its ugly head now, and I can't stop buying them now. So it's just, and I wear them. I wear most of my shoes. People always ask, do you wear those? I'm like, yeah, I wear them, but not often, right? It's enough of them where I don't have to wear them every day like I used to when I was a kid. I only had one pair of shoes. If a hole developed in the bottom of them, hey, you got to put something in the bottom of the shoe, but, that's my thing, right? Now that I can afford one or two pairs of shoes, I have them, and I collect them for fun. And we'll leave them to my son, and maybe my daughter will take a couple pairs. But it's just something that I find joy in, and a hobby of mine, collecting the Jordans.
That's super cool. All right, well, appreciate you. Stating. helping me to ask the question that should have been obvious. I've got this media training where I stare down the barrel and I don't look at my screen throughout my interview. So I've got to remind myself what my notes are. But RC, appreciate you making time to be on the Mind Your Biz channel. Audience, check out all the links. They're all in the description. Very easy for you to click those links. Follow RC, of course, across all social media, but you're most active on Twitter. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. On the Moonwalkers Twitter page.
Great. Okay, so all the links are available in the description. RC, thank you again. And I think possibly, maybe there's going to be some photos of us from Las Vegas and Miami, and then maybe international soon. But that's all I can say about that. Yeah.
No, Seth, I really appreciate you as usual. You're one of the brightest up and coming stars, brightest current stars, and it's always been a privilege to work with you and just hang out. Forget working with you, but just being in your presence, man. You're a special individual, man. So all blessings here, man.
Appreciate saying that. Audience, go follow the links, and we will see you in the next one.